Hello, everyone. It's Tanya. Before we get started today, I wanted to talk about an experiment I'm running with transcripts. Last week, I added instructions to the show notes for my conversation with Robin Lee Carlson about turning on Google Chrome's live caption feature. If you used it, let me know how it went for you. With this episode, I'm exploring interactivity in the transcripts, and what I mean by this is that I've added live links to the different things that my guest and I talked about. You'll find a link to the transcript in the show notes. And if you follow along today using the transcript, I'd appreciate learning what the experience was like for you. Did you follow along while listening? Did you listen first and then check on the transcript afterward? Thanks for letting me know. Let's get to today's episode. Much of what we learn about science, nature, and the environment happens outside of school and beyond the walls of museums, zoos, and nature centers. I have worked as an independent environmental professional for many years and know there are others like me who interact with the public in communities worldwide. On the Talaterra podcast, we discover who these professionals are, what they do, and how they create change. Why do I focus on independent professionals? I focus on them because they move freely through communities. They move freely between schools, organizations, businesses, programs, and other informal learning environments. They are positioned to meet the public where they are, and this is powerful. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Tanya Marion. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Arjit Jere, a biologist, science communicator, and popular science writer based in India. Arjit has written about the life cycle of antlions, competitor behavior in hummingbirds, climate change, and the critically endangered Amboli toad that's found only in the mountains of Western India. I met Arjit during the Science Journalism Forum, a global gathering of science journalists, communicators, and students. This forum is a virtual event, and as you know, virtual events make it possible to learn from people you would never meet otherwise. Like Arjit. Let's join the conversation. You are not only a science writer, you have a background in teaching, writing about curriculum, and you also have a research background. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you've done?
Yeah, so research has given me many exciting memories and also some up and down moments. But I would say like my interactions, my first memories of animals and nature was more through like all the dinosaur programs and books I read about dinosaurs. So I was absolutely crazy about dinosaurs as a kid. I used to play with toys, collect every goddamn piece of news which came on dinosaurs. So that's how my interest in animals started, ironically with animals which are not living. Then I used to watch all these nature documentaries on Nat Geo and Animal Planet, which was a huge influence. And that was in school, and then of course I became interested more in biology. After high school, I decided to do like a biotechnology based bachelor's, but I found that lab work was pretty boring for me, and I anyways used to go out and observe animals or like catch animals. I remember I had bought a frog in school by catching it, and well, it didn't end well. The teachers didn't take it too well, but the students, like fellow students, were interested, and they like I always was interested in animals from then, and that's why after I did bachelor's in biotechnology, I thought like I was interested more in field ecology and biology. And that's how I then shifted to master in biodiversity. Around the same time, I also went on various nature trails and also visited various national parks in India. There was one national park in Dehradun, which is like north side of India, which is known for its tigers, which I visited. That was fascinating. Then I visited like other national parks in the south of India, which are known for like their endemic mammals, which are close to the goat family, which is known as Nilgiri tar. It is found only in the Western Ghats. So like visiting national park and also visiting like nearby natural places in my own city got me very close to nature. That's how I got interested in research. Then during my research journey, I worked on like a very common animal which we saw in like nearby hills, which is antlions. They dig pits into soil. I am sure you will be seeing them even in California. Because they like sandy areas. So I for that was my first proper project as such, complete project in biodiversity and animal behavior research. Then I worked on dragonflies, and insects basically interested me because like there is so much variation in their behavior, and they are still relatively widespread. And I also worked in like Western Ghats on like birds and what kind of vegetation they are found in. That involved like very exciting adventures in mountains, and traveling on a bike in a very narrow roads is kind of kind of bit risky, but it also adventurous because you get to visit like the most wonderful wonderful locals, wonderful sceneries out there with all the evergreen forest and those kind of things. So yeah, my research experience got love for nature got me interested more in biodiversity research, and then I was always interested in communicating about interesting aspects about wildlife and nature to general public, general populace, which are not like exactly like academic audience, but getting people more interested in nature and telling them on environmental issues in like simple words is how I got interested in science communication, and that's how I started writing for my blog in my bachelor days. During my bachelor days, I also wrote for my college magazines. Writing has always been an integral part from my early bachelor days, and that's how I got into writing. As I said, writing for blogs and college magazines too, and then I moved more on to writing some articles for like environment magazines. And always like my friends and family always liked my articles, and they always been very supportive with respect to even giving tips about general writing, because like if your audience is non-academic, then actually asking your friends to go through the articles is a very good way of getting feedback. So yeah, that's how this journey has been. Pretty long journey, but it's only not even midway there in the journey. But yeah, it's been an exciting journey.
What made you choose the path of freelance journalism? Was it a conscious decision or a reaction to an event?
It was organic, I would say. Like as I said, like I have always been interested in science communication and popular science writing. I did it for blogs and college magazines since my bachelor days. Then I thought like there are so many magazines out there nowadays which accept articles. Then why not publish, and also in order to get a bigger reach for my articles, and also to make people more aware about the wonderful wildlife around us, and about the environmental issues. That's how I got into it. And also with freelance, as I said, I think I talked about this when we were talking in the Science Journal forum, that with freelance you get more say with respect to what kind of topics you want to write about. There's a bit more freedom. So that's why I did that. I'm doing that. Now I am still thinking about like whether I will go into research again or go into completely science communication. But like I know whatever I do, writing will be a big part of my life going forward.
What type of science journalism and science writing do you enjoy?
Yeah, so I enjoy books and magazines and articles which talk a lot about wildlife and natural history, and they paint a very engaging picture about nature. So now Richard Dawkins has been involved in some controversy due to his atheism, and like I think sometimes that has got some thought at him unnecessarily, but his writing on like evolution and selfie gene, and in which he paints an entirely different perspective of evolution and wildlife and nature, how like different organisms interact basically, was very interesting for me. It was one of the first popular science book I read, and it is still one of the best books which I have read. Then Jim Corbett was a hunter turned conservationist, which is a very interesting story from North India, and the book he wrote on man-eaters of Kumaon. So Kumaon is a small town in a hilly North Indian region. So it was about a tiger which was basically a man-eater, and it was causing a menace. But this whole human wildlife conflict is a very complicated issue, because it's humans which are encroached on the wildlife, and the wildlife is just reacting to that. So he talked about that in his very engaging book, which told so much stories about wildlife, and how he also, yes, he had killed that animal, but then he became more of a conservationist of tigers. And today, as I said, the Jim Corbett Park is in his name. It's a national park, so it's a very interesting story. It got me interested into like wildlife-based popular science, and magazines like Round Glass Sustain, which focus a lot of natural history and interesting behaviors of different endemic animals to India. Like there is a bird known as Nilgiri pipit, for example, which is found only in the Western Ghats of India. So interesting articles and facts about distribution about and behavior about that animal. Those kind of articles always interested me. And for environment topic, Manga Bay I think is Manga Bay is a publication which I've enjoyed, because they present very balanced takes on environmental issues. Like they don't just talk about environmental side, but also about the development side, and how these two interact, because they do interact, and their development are also important, but so is keeping in mind the environmental stability. So yeah, Manga Bay is good, also a good magazine, good website which I enjoy reading. And of course Nat Geo, because they have such a visual outlook, and also the way they write interesting stories about the animals.
Wonderful. So what types of stories do you look for when you want to write a topic?
So as I said, basically I do look for stories which involve some aspect of biodiversity and wildlife, and also interesting facets of the animal's behavior, and to make the audience go, wow, this is interesting, that kind of stories. And little bit, so most of my shows have dealt with natural history, and now I'm focusing more environment, because like it is kind of the big issue nowadays, environmental degradation, and stories which give an idea of the scale of the issues faced by society nowadays, especially in the environment sector. So yeah, I would say natural history mostly, and a little bit in the environment domain.
Yeah. Well, in your experience, what have you found that people know little about? Which topics in natural history and in the environment? What types of stories would you like to write next?
Insects, I would say, the short word. People don't know a lot about insects, and like for example, there are more ant species. There are more individuals ants, 6 times more individuals of ants than there are humans, and like the number of insects is so huge that even taxonomists don't know sometimes what is the exact species, because there are so many insects, and sometimes their roles are kind of underrated. The roles they play in the ecosystem are underrated. Like even pollination, yes, it is well known bees do it, but even ants do it, even beetles do it. So like, and mostly I have seen mm, like the viewpoint people have about insects are mostly negative because yes, some of them sting like bees and wasps, but there are so many insects which are so useful for people. Even antlions, for example, they eat pests. Even spiders, they eat pests. So there are lots of useful insects also, and there are so many interesting insect behaviors like insects which basically eat in which the female eats the male after mating. It is so crazy, but it is seen in spiders and some other insects. So I think insects are something. Of course, nowadays it's increasing, but in general, like people know more about the big, like the big showy mammals and birds, more so than insects, especially in India, especially with like non academic audience, I would say. So yeah, I would be thinking of writing more about insects and especially uh, environmental issues, non-carbon emission related, because nowadays with the climate change conference, carbon has been a big topic and it is very, very important that humanity deals with the carbon emissions to reduce global warming. But other gases like methane, for example, methane is way more stronger than carbon in like absorbing heat and contributing to global warming, as you may know. So my next article will be on that topic, like the role methane plays in global warming, and it will also talk about some data which I found online, which will be helpful in telling about what are the methane emissions from different sectors in different states of India. So yeah, but I would say insects and in general invertebrates like mollusks, for example, or like I would say non fleshy animals in inverted commas. They need a bit more coverage, I would say.
Yes, yes. Yeah, animals that aren't as flashy as you say. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I feel the same way about plants. Stories
Yes,
about
plants too,
about
yeah.
plants. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, plants also need more coverage, that's true. Yeah, because like they are again showy, but even basic plants like algae, which have been around for so many millions of years, maybe they are something. There are even some plant groups which aren't talked about that much.
And then that's why there's that entire topic in the field of botany and science education, which is referred to in the literature as plant blindness, the fact that people don't see plants as. And but now there's a new term being used, plant awareness disparity, is also just a term that's used to describe that same subject, that same topic. So when you begin a story, when you look for your next story, do you find a topic to write about, or do you reach out to people who are working in a particular way or on a particular project that you want to write about, or do you look for work or requests from publications?
No, because I am just starting out. Like I mostly look. I don't reach out to people too much, but I mean I do reach out for experts on their opinion. But the most important thing I do is like search for specific keywords and then search the stories with respect to that topic, and then I try to see which, as I said, and then I try to look at which topics are covered less extensively, and then I like narrow down on the topics. So of course it won't be possible to. It will be very difficult to find a topic which is like had not been covered at all, but at least those which have not been covered as well. That's how I decide a topic, and then I try to find information about it, especially data about it, latest happenings about it. Uh, then I try to approach I ask experts about their views. This is for news and those kind of things. For research, I again for research based story which I've written, I just try to look on Google Scholar for the latest papers, see if they've been covered. If they're not, then that's how it's a topic. And yeah, sometimes I do reach out to scientists if I need something clarified or if I need second opinions.
And what's it like working with scientists for an article? Are they welcoming of being approached by a science writer or a journalist? What has your experience been with scientists?
So I have not till now I haven't interacted too much with scientists, but I've interacted with conservationists, environmentalist who is working at waste management organization. She was pretty open with giving suggestions and sharing, so that was good. Sometimes in one or two instances, I have mailed scientists about a specific research paper which I want to write about, but I haven't received any replies. So sometimes communication is a bit slow, but I understand they are busy, so it will take time. Actually, in my experience, American scientists, it's not in the context of science writing doubts, but with respect to academic inquiry and those things, they are a bit more. They are a bit more quick in communicating back than Indian scientists. So I mean, not that I want to put down Indian scientists, but yeah, I mean, I guess Americans, for them, having stayed in America for some months, email for them is drinking coffee and taking bath, a daily thing. Maybe they do it more regularly, checking emails and responding to emails. But yeah, I mean. At least with some environmentalists which I have talked with, they have been very open in sharing their opinions. At the hardcore, with respect to talking with hardcore academics, I haven't received a reply from one or two of them, but hopefully I will, and then I will be able to tell about scientists as such.
We met at the Science Journalism Forum that happened this past fall. It was my second time attending, and I'm just impressed by that an event like this is organized and that so many people attend. And it's just always so interesting to me. What did you take away from this year's event? Was there anything that resonated with you that stood out?
Yes, so Actually, I didn't attend all of sessions, and because actually I was myself traveling with a family trip. I was on a family trip during the same time, but I still got to attend some sessions, and the most important thing for me was meet the editors, because you don't get too many chances to talk directly with editors unless you are actually working in some publication or some magazine. That was very good for me to get their perspective, and it was so interesting to know that every magazine had a different requirements they had from writers. Some of them maybe I think the scientists or no, one of them, they took more molecular biology based articles. Others they were more into data journalism and citizen science there was one particular magazine which dealt more with data journalism articles. And the different kinds of requirements the journals had, and the way they shared their perspective on the writing, and again they stressed on the novelty of the story and angle. That was important. Then I also attended a misinformation session, which was good. How to recognize misinformation. That was pretty good. So I got to learn a lot of new things. I mean, it was still overall a good experience.
Yeah. It's just really something. And goodness, I did not. Well, of course, there's several languages. There are sessions in several languages, and it's literally an event that happens around the clock in all time zones.
Yeah, it is hectic.
Yeah, it is. It can be a little busy, though. They was a really nice reorganization this year of several sessions happening in blocks for the different continents from the attendees. And but yeah, there's so much going on. You cannot attend every session here. in that event. Yeah, well, that's very nice. Yeah. So you
Yeah, but it's good they had recordings.
yes, there are.
But it's good that they kept recording, so like anyone can check up on session which they missed later.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I appreciate that. When you began your career in science communication and science writing, what did you believe science writing was going to be like?
Yeah, so I thought because like there is so much information and so much news available and so much, of course, wildlife information available, like choosing topics won't be that difficult. But when I actually went into the field and like when I came to know that, of course, when I realized the importance of writing a novel story, then I realized that actually it's not as easy, and it is just like deciding a research topic, because even when you're doing research, you have to decide a topic, you have to dig a lot into the available information literature and decide a topic and think about a topic which is novel. It's kind of the same actually for science writing. You have to write, you have to think about a topic and search for a topic which is not as well covered. So yeah, coming up with new topics was maybe a bit more difficult than I thought. And also specific nuances about, of course, I had known from various courses I did that you have to change the tone of your article according to the audience. But the specific nuances I only came to know once I started. Like as I said, like if you are if anybody is writing an article for kids, that the language should be extremely simple. There should be like lots more imagery, lots of visual illustrations. So. More so than writing for adults, where you can at least use like some basic terms, like for example, you can write words like endemic and explain what it means, or like endangered, but or you can write about specific terms like open dumping or things like that. But with kids, like you have to use a very simple language and no jargon at all. And even ideally for adults, you can use it is better if you know jargon, but at least you can use some basic terms. But yeah, the writing for kids and adults is very different. And even in my Amboli article, which is for kids, like it is like a very basic language. So these two things I would say, are something which I learned when I actually started doing it.
Yeah. Do you have plans to write a children's book?
Book, maybe, but I do. Book is in book will be something of a long-term dream of writing a book, but not sure what it will be about. But let's see.
Do you write articles for children? I know you have experience with curriculum writing.
Yeah, I had written an Amboli article for children only, and as I said, like I had experience, a little bit of experience in environmental education for kids. So I used to conduct a science camp, science club for kids at a school in Pune, and there we used to teach kids about biology and environment, but in a very hands-on way, like not. In a way, like not just keep them restricted to textbooks, but making it more experiential and taking them to field trips, showing them different animal specimen and asking them to differentiate and like that. So that was fun, and environmental education with kids.
Have you ever considered incorporating audio into your work? Because your article with the Amboli toad made me think, if as you were looking for the toad, sound would be a wonderful addition to a story like that. Have you ever considered a podcast, writing for a podcast?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it might be interesting. Podcast actually in India is not too common. Maybe, yeah, but maybe sometime in future. But yeah, it might be something which but yeah, right now focusing more into writing. But in future, it might be interesting.
I can see you doing that. I don't know if you can see yourself doing that yet, but I can definitely see that. You just turn on the recorder on your phone and make that part of your story. I think that would be wonderful, because in that particular article about the toad, you described the scene so well. And so, yeah. So that's what made me think to ask if you would incorporate audio. So in your experience, what type of science topics are covered in publications in India?
Yeah, so in magazines and in newspapers, I think like conservation is one of the biggest topics, and it has always been a relatively big topic with respect to environmental science communication since the conservation movement started in like the middle parts of the 1900s in India. How forests are being cut and for different development activities, like issues faced by various wildlife, and nowadays even the social aspect of conservation, because environmental issues affect not only animals but also like locals and especially lower income section societies are affected more by environmental issues. Though that part is nowadays getting lots of traction. So conservation, social aspects of environmental issues, and like pollution especially is nowadays big issue, because lots of cities in India actually are facing big problems with air pollution, especially Delhi, which is like you won't be able to see you won't be able to look at the road properly. There is so much pollution in some northern cities of India, like Delhi. So pollution is a big issue. Then recently, like the Indian government has transported cheetahs back into India, which were extinct for a long time. It's like a very ambitious project. It might go wrong also. So it's like very, it can go either way. It is actually a bit a risky move, but let's see how it happens, how it goes. So yeah, that is one big topic nowadays. Natural history is, I think, little bit. Natural history is not covered as extensively as environmental issues, but nowadays there are some good magazines like around the Sustain which work on natural history. So yeah, conservation, wildlife, and then development projects which are affecting environment, and nowadays also renewable energy is a big topic, because India has made a commitment to reduce carbon emissions. Let's see how it goes. Commitment is one thing, doing it on ground is another thing, but yeah, there is a push for renewable energy, and there are some more articles on renewable energy nowadays. So yeah, these topics are covered, I think, from what I've seen.
Do you cover a lot of science policy in your writing?
Not policy, but I try to cover like data journalism in like I'm trying to cover. I am trying to utilize aspects of data journalism in my articles nowadays, because there's so much data available and there's so much that can be learned through the data. There's so much people can learn from data if the data is presented to them in a story form, in a popular science form, and that's what I'm trying to do in my next article actually. So data journalism is something which I am trying to do, not policy as such, but using open data on like pollution, gas emissions, biodiversity loss, and those kind of things. So that is also very emerging and interesting type of journalism which is growing nowadays.
Yeah. What type of insight can you share with new science writers or listeners who are considering doing more science writing or exploring this career?
Yeah, even I am like just starting out technically, like, to be honest. But I would say go with topics you are really passionate about. That is what even seniors have told me, like senior writers, like only if you really care about a topic, and if you really want to go to the complete depth of a topic, then you can do justice to a topic. That is important, and also regularly writing is important, and like at least keeping in touch with the topic and keeping in touch with the writing is important. So I would say starting with that is important, and I would say especially for Indian writers, there are now many more outlets to write in than maybe 10-15 years ago. So it is, as I said, like a infant, still in infancy, but it is growing. So yeah, there are some options with respect to writing.
What does your writing practice look like? Do you write a little something every day, a couple times a week? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so for me it is like it can vary actually. It can ebb and flow. So when I'm working in an article, yeah, try to write some part every day. And for me, I'm more about, like, I know people who work the other way, they go more over quantity than quality. For me, I try to be like, I would rather write a great article by taking some more days, like 6-7 days, than writing like 7 basic articles or 7 very average articles daily. So I would say I would like to go more with the quality over quantity approach.
What's next for you?
Yes, currently I am working part-time as a workshop outreach person and workshop coordinator for a university here, and I'm working under a professor who I am familiar with before, who I've worked with before for research on Oronet. So right now my work is more about designing syllabus for workshops which cover the topics like statistics, sustainability, environment awareness. So I'll be designing syllabus and also helping with the outreach, or like writing outreach materials for the workshop to reach out to the participants. So I really want some sort of science communication, but I will be always incorporating some science communication in my life and in my career, so to say, in the near future at least. I am planning to write on my blog more often, and also like pitching articles for freelance magazines will allow freelance writing, especially in environment and natural history. Hopefully the articles will get accepted and published. Let's see. And one thing which I like to add is, like, right now there is actually, I see more awareness about environment, but yeah, the quicker people are aware of the interconnection between biodiversity, having like a good biodiversity, having environmental awareness, making sure like the way you live is more sustainable and like causing less, you are living in a way which causes less pollution, the easier it will be for the entire humanity. Otherwise it's not headed in a good direction. So yeah, I hope with my articles people get more interested in nature and appreciate the beauty of nature around them, like not just in like faraway jungle, but also in the city itself. There is so much biodiversity. And also I hope I raise some environmental awareness by my articles which are more environment based. But yeah, that is what I hope to achieve through science communication.
Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about Arjit and resources mentioned in this episode, visit the show notes. Arjit has shared a lot of good things with us. And if you engaged with the transcript while listening to this episode, how did it go for you? I would love to know. Please visit the contact form to share your thoughts. Thank you for your time today. See you next time.